At Chris Kehler Holistic, we demonstrate real healing and real caring to your health issues and needs. Our solution for you is an alternative to the alternative. Our out-of-the-box treatment methods are aimed to your specific well-being and are quite different than most. Venturing down the realm of quantum energy healing, Chris uses unique modalities of healing, such as spiritual intervention with pendulum dowsing, sacred geometry tools such as the neutralization, divinity, and sun ring. Another tool Chris uses is a 5-tiered pyramid affectionately known as the Silver Light Pyramid to activate quantum activity within the body. Also, Chris Kehler Holistic uses radionic technologies in various platforms with specific liquid mineral ionics to balance out excesses and deficiencies within the body. At Chris Kehler Holistic, our goal is to get tangible and measurable results in the least amount of time possible so you can carry on with what's important in your life. Another advantage to this unique energy healing is that it can be done at a distance healing session. So location is not a barrier and can be done conveniently at your home, office, just about anywhere through Skype or telephone conferencing. Eliminate costly protocols, expensive monthly supplements, high-priced allopathic operations, invasive surgeries, and dubious medication applications that keep you trapped in a financial and health rat race. Get a specific, customized, out-of-the-box solution tailored for your health recovery. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we are warm welcoming and want to put you at ease with your visit to us. Please visit www.chriskehler.net for further information as we welcome your questions and inquiries to starting this unique journey. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we want to show you that we are the alternative to the alternative and the out-of-the-box solution to customize an answer for you to spend less and gain more in your high vibrancy journey. Visit www.chriskehler.net. Real healing and real caring to your health needs.
Present to the world, Mr. Chris Kehler.
I am your host for tonight, Chris Kehler, calling from wonderful Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Today's been a day of better be on guard. A lot of things. Skype, if we're going to lose a call for sure, I know we're probably going to lose a call. You have to call me back. But I use Skype for a living when I'm working with my clients. And Skype has been on and off, just dropping calls like crazy. There are things happening in this crazy little earth that we live on. Mercury in retrograde, I don't know, something like that.
Do you know what's going on in California right now?
What's happening in California?
They have like inches of rain. I mean, the highways are totally underwater. There are people, jumping out from the roofs of their cars onto the ground because their cars are up over the wheels in the water in the road.
Wow.
There's slides going on, right? Well, I was just watching it. I mean, we just had it on the Weather Channel on a flat screen.
And they've gone through how many years of drought?
I don't know how many years in that altogether, but let's just put it this way: they're in a drought condition, so the ground, of course, gets hard, right? No water, everything gets hard. They have in parts of their area out there. There's a clay base, so water doesn't go down that fast. It kind of sits, and this hit all at the same time, and there's more coming on top of it, and they're getting 24 inches of snow in the mountains.
Well, there's some words for that, but we can't say that on radio.
No, of course not. You can't. I mean, you can't turn around and go, "Oh golly." But,
well, in Winnipeg, we did get the snow that we normally get, but because of the El Nino, our temperatures are not hitting anywhere close to where they're supposed to be. We're supposed to be around minus 15 for a high Celsius, and we're at like -5, -6, which is really nice. I'm not complaining about that, but look at Scotland. Scotland's getting swamped also.
Yeah, I'm going to be speaking in New York over the weekend and the beginning of next week. And it's funny because I always like Christmas time, you know, that kind of thing. And that you go up there and that, and of course your tootsies are freezing because the wind comes down those avenues like a wind tunnel. And it's like if it's 32 degrees, it feels like 15, you know, and it rips your face off, you know, if you don't wrap something around it. One of those kind of things, you know. And now they're telling me, don't worry about it, Bob. You don't have to bring anything. It's going to be 55. 55
nice.
In New York?
So nice weather in some places, crappy weather in other places.
Yeah.
In the news as of late, and for quite a while actually, we've been seeing a lot of things coming forward from so-called whistleblowers. Now, these people are putting their credibility on the line. They're putting their necks out. You have Julian Assange, you have Edward Snowden, and various other people who are facing extreme criticism from government, from the public about what they're bringing forward. And to be quite honest, without these people, us humans would be sitting a bit more in the dark, much like a mushroom would, not hearing about a lot of these things that are going on. And to be quite honest, there's a lot of stuff that is going on in humanity that the governments are trying to mislead us as to what they are. And these people are really bringing a lot of things forward to educate us, to bring awareness of what's happening, and justifiably so, because we live on this planet too, you know, and I think we have the right to really know what's going on. Tonight's guest, I'm going to get right into it really quickly because we got a lot to talk about. Tonight's guest is one of these whistleblowers. If you know what type of work that I do with my healing modality, a lot of people will hear that I'm working with removing ET from someone's body or someone's energy, whether it be gray aliens or reptilians or Tiazi or archons or whatever is plaguing your body. Tonight's guest, we're going to be talking a lot about ETs, their association with governments, what's going on, how this is all coming about and affecting us on a grand scale. The entire planet is being affected by a lot of these happenings that are going on with ETs. Tonight's guest is Sergeant Daniel Brad MacBolen III. He's an alien black ops whistleblower and a super soldier. Let's bring him on right now. Daniel, how you doing, my friend?
Wonderful. Can you hear me?
Perfectly fine. How are you on that end, Bob?
Oh, I got him over here.
Beautiful. We got a show.
Oh, yeah. No problem.
Yeah, with Skype, you never know how it's going to go. It's a bit of a turkey shoot sometimes, but we got it working. It's going good. So we're going to have a wonderful show. Now, Sergeant Daniel Brad MacBolen III. Now, let's see. Where are we going to start with this? Because we got so many places to go. You and I have had some preliminary conversations about things, and I feel that we're really on the same wavelength. We're on the same page as far as what is happening with humanity and these son of a guns, the governments and extraterrestrials. They're in bed together and they're creating some fallout that ain't so hot. Talk about your background involvement with the military. Maybe tell us a little bit what yellow fruit origins you have.
Oh, okay. Well, we're taking a lot of heat today because the solar index went up. The X-ray is flying us. The magnetosphere is absolutely going crazy. And 3-day forecast did not project this. And the magnetic flux is right down, you know, somebody's smashing it right down into, so it's not an accident that this is happening, you know, while you're bringing this forward. So, you know, it's like, this is kind of nuts, but it's to be expected. So basically, a short bio is I was born into the military-industrial complex at a military base and basically embedded into a military family. And I basically was in the United States Air Force for close to 4 years. Did work within the Navy, the Department of Navy, the Department of Army, and then basically ran off the reservation after I failed to do something I was supposed to do, and I didn't want to do it. And it's like, but I've been having these issues all along where I keep getting taken back into my signed deep underground military base, and then they would, constantly wanting to know why I'm breaking program. So basically what it is yellow fruit is a product of the yellow cube device, the information that was obtained in the Roswell incident in 1947. It's basically a repository of 27,000 sentient civilizations between here and there, some of them dimensional, some of them pan-dimensional. I'll put it that way. And basically, in 1947, well, let me go back. 1950 is when the military-industrial complex got their hands on the box and were taught how to open it, how to begin to let the information flow throughout the military-industrial complex in order to do many different projects. Mine just happened to be one of those U.S. Air Force subsets of a project called Open Eyes. And basically, my Air Force subset project was called Zeta Diogenes / slant Clear Eyes, all one word, level 1 through 5, which was basically brought about in 1961 because of the failed Bay of Pigs incident. And so basically they call us, I've been referred to as yellow fruit so many times when I was at Sector 4 that, and Sector 2 that, it just, they kept referring to me as yellow fruit. And so I've heard the term other times, but not associated with, my particular platform.
Now, you said something that caught my ear, the yellow cube. Now, what the heck is that, my friend?
Well, back in the day, after the crash took place in 47, they had an original hostage by the name of Krill, Krll. Don't know if that's the proper pronunciation. I'm sure it's not because, the individual, has a different linguistic tonality to.
Yeah, who knows their language, right?
The name, yeah. Well, we know it now, but the thing is that at the time we didn't. But back then, Ma Bell came out with this concept of the yellow book. Let your fingers do the walking. And so it's basically, if you wanted to know something, who to call, you would use the yellow book and whip it out, and you would have everybody's phone number, the businesses, advertisements, who to call for a plumbing, that kind of thing. And so they basically adopted the Yellow Book code name for the Yellow Cube device because it had all this information, extensive amounts of information in a holographic form. And basically, Krill, before he died, showed him how to open the book, learned enough English to be able to telepath and get his point across on who he was, where he came from, what this box does, and basically put a phone call in, ET phone home, and nobody showed up. They showed up, but not in time enough to save him. He needed special diet, special environment, and the MIC and the military just did not know how to provide that for him, and so he passed, I believe, in 1949. I can't confirm that, but
Have you ever had personal introduction, actual dialogue, or seen one of these beings up front?
Well, it depends on which one you're referring to. But the original folks that ended up on the ground in Corona and in Roswell, yes, many times on many different occasions, as well as several other species as well that were associated with him. So yeah, and it was no big deal because once you've seen the Solipsy ray. You've seen one, you've seen them all, because they're pretty much, you can tell them apart, but the thing is, especially by their attitudes. But the thing is I don't recall any names, but I do remember a female reticulan of pretty tall stature. She was, 4.5, close to 5 feet. She was seated. I couldn't tell exactly, but I'd been interviewed by her at least 2 times to find out the cause of my malfunction dealing with the program. Because once a year they would bring you back into your sign done, and then you would go through sort of like a checkup from the neck up. They would make sure that all the links were operational, and mine would go off the reservation. And they wanted to know why. And the military couldn't get that information, so I was interrogated by this female who seemed to be of some status. She seemed to be controlling a large group of the Solipsy ray.
It's established that the ET is here. You've had personal introduction dealings with them. I myself have had holographic views of some reptilians right smack dead in my face. When I was trying to sleep, the guy looked at me, he looked left and right, and I said boo, and he got out of there. Okay, well, didn't think much to get rid of him. And I chuckled in my sleep cool. Too. I saw the green, the yellow, the scales, the slitty eyes, and he was right in my face. And I just looked at him and said boo. My wife says, who are you talking to? I says, oh, nothing, go to sleep.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, you freaked him out because the thing is usually they're able to create a type of paralysis and by the direct eye contact. And when you scared him, basically, that frightens them when they cannot control your body, then that really freaks them out. Or if you anger them, there was one point in time when I angered a low-level worker bee reptilian. It was more like an amphibious type creature, taking a chameleon-type human form. Very popular. Many people know him. I won't mention his name, but I was working protection detail for a particular individual at one time, and he had death threats. And this individual had been known for long periods of time to have an ongoing conflict with my principal, the fellow I was protecting. And so he got on the same elevator, and our head of security was there, big, huge, tall guy. And he began to shout at my principal and then began to walk towards him. And I hit him as hard as I could in the throat with my wristbone, my left wristbone. I mean, I slammed him. It would have killed a human being. But it didn't seem to do anything but really make him angry that a hybrid or a human would put their hands on him. And he began screaming and slobbering, and he just transmorphed right in front of us, and we could see just large amounts of goo splattering on me because I was in between the two of them. And then I just started to laugh because it's like this guy really was funny looking in his native form, and it really shook him up that there was no fear, and that I had my hand on my weapon, so it really messed with his head, and he just kept screaming and yelling, and we could see him begin to transmorph into this frog-looking type amphibious reptilian. And when he realized that we could see him, then the elevator door opened, and he bolted and knocked some people down. He was so frightened by that. And, of course, I looked over at the head of security and the principal, and their jaws, their mouths were wide open. They couldn't believe it. And it's like they kept asking each other, did you see what I saw? And they didn't even explain or try to describe what they saw. They just kept asking each other, "Did you see what I saw? Did you see what I saw?" and it's like, and they're looking at me, and I'm still laughing. I said, "What did you see?" And when we finally got calmed down, I just said, "Well, this is what I saw." And he goes, "Yeah, that's what we saw." And it's like, yeah, you're going to run into these all the time, and they're chameleon or chimeric in form. They can take on a shape, but if they lose their composure, or if they're tired, or if they haven't fed, then their disguise falls apart.
Are these things like freely walking around the military bases and interacting with?
Yes, in form and out of form, in incognito and in natural form. I've run across at least 3 individuals of the amphibious type, like the one I encountered. Different. I mean, a little different. They're all a little different, just like humankind are all a little bit different. And in the form that I had taken in an astral remote viewing session, I basically walked past this individual, and he made language. He basically, it sounded like hissing, and I acknowledged him with a nod, and he took one look at me, and he said something, and I just nodded at him, and shrugged my shoulders and kept walking. And when I got around the corner, I egressed the location really quick because, I didn't know if he would follow, didn't know what but I had something I had to do. I went and did it, and I had reached the end of my capabilities of getting further down in the deep underground military base where I was looking, and ran into a magnetic bottle and said, "Okay, I am out of here." So I left, but I'd seen several on that particular mission, and like I said, some in the flesh, some up close and personal, like in the elevator. Others who had tried to intimidate me. And basically, I just told them in the ancient tongue, "I see you." And I won't go into that because you and I think you and I have discussed that particular verbiage of ancient Sumerian. And it's like, these guys understand ancient Sumerian, so you just tell them, when you say that you can detect them, it really, especially in a crowd, they freak out because they think they've lost their capability to
blown
hide.
Their cover.
Right. And the thing is, when you tell them, "I see you," they leave pretty quick. They freak and leave. It's a fear and survival thing for them.
Everybody who believes in the extraterrestrials and UFOs and the whole concept knows that there is some kind of involvement with the military. So can you explain what the military is doing with the ET, what the ET are doing alongside the military, and anything that we don't know that would be really interesting to hear?
Well, different groups of the military are involved with different species because some of them at certain levels are at war with one another, and at other levels they cooperate together. But you'll have the tall whites that are been on the Tonopah test range forever. And there's a physicist who wrote several volumes on the tall whites, Charles James Hall, who is today, right now, is at work at Sandia Nuclear Laboratories at Kirtland Air Force Base. So, even the CIA was not allowed to prevent him from writing this book. This series of books is called Millennial Hospitality by Charles James Hall. And he's a physicist, like I say, at Sandia Lab right now. Most likely he's at work there at Sandia. So to say that it's not so, well, if a guy was nuts, would you hire him at one of the highest nuclear laboratories in the country, the highest security ratings? Would you have him working?
I would double check that resume.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, the way he portrays them is the way he sees them. They're actually quite malevolent, and they eat people, and they pass it off to him as, they're plant eaters. They're very benevolent, and everybody that's on the bad side always wants to, to cause human beings to think that they're benevolent, and they're, they have their own way of thinking. Each one of the non-terrestrials they think differently than humans. The closest ones that you can find that think like humans do in the same type of way that humans think, feel, see would be the Pleiades or the Pleiadians. They're about as close to the humankind as you can get. Only we have a highly evolved circulatory system with lots of blood. They evolved in the other direction. They have a highly evolved lymph system. So they have a lot of lymph glands and fluid with very little blood in their circulatory system. And they can shed toxins quite readily and repair themselves quite easier than humankind can.
What is their purpose in the military?
Well, usually the ones that humankind perceive in reality as being benevolent won't share anything, because they know that giving humankind in their present state of being is like giving a young child a loaded firearm with the hammer cocked and the chamber loaded, and it's just a matter of time before the child finds the trigger. So, you don't want to give somebody in grade school a loaded weapon. It's just not a good idea. And so what they do is they give us the malevolent ones who deal with the military. They do trading back and forth because commerce is they're into commerce, just like basically in a form of capitalism. You'll have many different species coming through the back door to this planet, hijacking human beings and gold and various resources that they need, and they sell DNA of the human beings, whether it's in whole or in part or in just genetic material. They sell human beings across the galaxy because we're highly prized because of our metagene factor, what we have that no one else in the universe has, and that is the manifestation gene, the God gene, the metagene factor is what the military calls it. But we've been able to evolve with help in 150 years what most ETs, most non-terrestrials have not been able to evolve in 150 million years. We just have this ability that it's sort of like we're the cure for their ills, especially with the predatory pathogenic artificial intelligence that the Archon, Dracos, and the Anunnaki are infested with and infected with.
Now, one of the big things that I've been working with lately, I've made this announcement to humanity that we have gone into the fifth dimension. We are into this higher state of consciousness, that all of this bombardment of attacks from dark ET that are taking advantage of us is now going to end. And what I've been seeing, and especially in my work and also channelings I do with my pendulum, is that the reptilians are leaving the planet. They're been given their walking papers and they're now starting to leave. But what that does is it ungrounds them from the planet, and it lifts veils so I can see more what is going on within a person's health, what's causing a health problem. And one thing that I am finding is that with the reptilians, they've been doing lots of DNA splicing within humanity. So if you're a person with this really weird health problem that nobody can figure out and doesn't go away, there's a good chance that there's been some DNA splicing. And I've seen this within people who all of a sudden are quadriplegics, people with cardiovascular problems that no matter what you do, that it doesn't get better, it doesn't go away, nobody can diagnose it. So now the reptilian concept of things, do you have any information about the reptilians?
Yes. Well, as far as their hybridization program, everybody wants to be a human. They're with us going in now. We've not yet reached the null zone. There's the null zone of the photon belt, the monastic ring, the galactic plane, whatever you want to call it. It's a huge wormhole that we enter into to go into the fifth dimension to get sped up. There's the null zone, the ascension zone, and the event horizon. And when we get to the null zone, the sun, being basically a stargate, will basically shut down for a period of time as the positronic nature of the null zone interacts with the electrons of electricity. When you have a positron and an electron come together, they annihilate one another and they null each other out. And so we're getting awfully close to that point. And there is a lot of rumors that the sun will go out for a 3-day period while this genetic DNA return of human beings, because human beings are already, since the year 2000, there are children born with 3 strands of DNA, back to the original humankind that had abilities that were beyond belief. And so I just received some information about a week ago on actually how this works, and how the 2 strands, as long as we're 2 strands, the ETs of lower vibration can feed on us and manipulate us. Well, the minute you get your 3rd strand, and it coalesces and grounds out, then it begins the process of becoming what's known as a double pentadecahedron. It takes on that geometric shape, and it creates a 12 strands of DNA. When you're basically on your way through the ascension zone into the null zone, you'll end up with at least 3 strands, which later envelope into 3, each one of the strands having 3 more strands for a total of 12. And so we're going from a carbon-based unit into a crystalline-based life form, which is, we still have a physicality. We still have a touchable body. We just become bodies of light rather than, charcoal, we're diamonds.
That makes a lot of sense. Those are kind of the same things that I'm reading within my chart. The process is beginning, and the whole concept of ascension. Ashiana Dean talks a lot about it in different ways. I hear different things from the people I work with who are very involved with earth grid clearing. The gentleman who makes my energy tools is very involved with it. He runs energy every day to clear the earth grid, and he describes it to me as basically sitting in a bathtub full of water with your finger in a light socket for 2 hours. It's running energy running energy at that level. And there's 12 people on the planet doing it. He's the primary doing all this clearing. And I got a message from my upper source saying that yes, the ascension is beginning. We are there. And I emailed this guy and asked him, I says, am I right? And he says, you are right. And for him to say that is a huge, huge comment, because he's normally very tight-lipped about it. So this process is starting. And the ET concept, especially the dark ones, the reptilians, they're just a pain in my backside. And I've been removing those from people on a daily basis, almost everyone. And the really interesting thing is the validation. So you and I are sitting here talking about ET and talking to one of my clients about reptilians. He goes, okay, whatever. Then I say the words and make the intent through my pyramid to remove this ET from whatever it is. All of a sudden, this person gets very nauseous. All of a sudden, they feel tingling. Oh, yeah. All of a sudden, they feel upliftment. They feel something leaving. I worked with somebody yesterday who had a very large humming within their head. People would say tinnitus. It was a humming, a low-grade humming. Mm-hmm. And what I did with this person is I removed the reptilian spaceship from their vicinity. All of a sudden, the humming went away. here on much different levels. I mean, on quantum levels that we can't even see, but they're here in dimension form, as you said, pan-dimensional, and they could be activating into us from other dimensions, of course.
Actually, yeah, it's actually the same dimension, a 3D dimension as Earth, only it's slightly out of phase. We talked about 1,728 different varieties. I call them constructs of Earth. Earth has pretty much, like I said, 1,728 different constructs.
Parallels?
Well, yeah, you would say it would be a parallel because it's about 0.02 degrees out of homopolar effect phase. It's out of phase with the homopolar effect. And Andrew Basiago talked about that with myself and Alfred Lebermont Weber about the multidimensionalism and synthetic quantum environments. And they can basically take a human and put them in a synthetic quantum environment and invade there. If they compromise them, they can embed themselves into the chakra points and basically feed upon the negative energy that they prompt by manipulating the mind of the human to be negative. The more negativity, pain, suffering, that kind of thing, they feed on that kind of thing. And then when you remove them, basically all the negativity is no longer there, and these individuals have to basically leave, whether they're in our dimension but slightly out of phase, you can't see the craft, or it's really easily seen with thermoptic camouflage is easily seen with ultraviolet or low lux cameras. The quality is getting so good. If you can get down to 0.01 lux, you can see these craft everywhere. And thermoptic camouflage does not work for them. Then there's homopolar camouflage, which cannot be seen by technology that we have at the moment. It's more into the ultraviolet range. And so until the FLIR, the forward-looking infrared, and basically we catch up on the commercial off the shelf, we're not going to see those homopolar camouflage individuals.
Well, I don't know if humanity's ready to see all that right now anyway.
Well, we've had the technology. If you remember Jonathan Pollard, he had access to this little black box that fits on your belt, and you basically push it, and it changes your face to the point where you cannot be seen within the human eye spectrum of viewing. And presidents since Poppy Bush have been using this for Secret Service to basically put on. What it does is it basically changes the atomic structure at the axis. It changes it slightly out of phase, and then of course you cannot see the individual. They're there, you can touch them and they can touch you. And that's why you see such a big gap around all the presidents as they go along. The Secret Service leaves open gap, but there's these really tall human beings. Okay. Some of them are human.
Now, I'm quite sure I got one of these things in my fridge. Every time I open my fridge to go for the milk, I can't see the milk. My wife says, use your woman eyes.
Yeah, it's called state of mind phenomenon. Yeah, because the thing is your brain, something in your brain is telling you, don't go for the milk. Don't go for the milk.
I'm looking at the beer. Let's talk a little bit more about the reptilian and we'll move on. You look on the internet, put in the word reptilian entity or whatever, and you're going to see pictures of the Queen, high profile people, and everybody's saying, oh, they're reptilian. And then you'll see pictures of their eyes shifting to slit and some digital contortions happening. What is reality with the reptilians and who are they mimicking?
Well, basically what happens when we came into the age of high definition and ultra high definition is their ability to chimeric themselves or to chameleon themselves. It makes it a little bit more difficult. You can see, human humankind blink probably 20 times a minute. Reptilian, they blink somewhere close to 100 times per minute. And they have a nictating lens that covers, they have two separate lenses. They have a lens and then they have an eyelid. And you see this in crocodiles, you see this in frogs, and you see this in many different reptilian species that, and you'll see hybrids that blink in both directions. They blink with one set of eyelids up and down, and the other one is basically you see their pupils slit, and they'll blink simply because it's very difficult for them not to, in this light environment, especially a bright light environment, for them to withstand the high intensity white light, sunlight. They're not used to this sun. This sun is a yellow, teeny tiny star, but it still puts off some pretty bright light for their physiology.
Is royalty, is the queen a reptilian?
Yeah, if you want to go to the Denver airport and find out, she's there with all her. She basically got kicked out of Buckingham Palace because she no longer has a treaty that was given up. Many eons ago, there was a treaty between the Elven and the Draco, and they took command of this planet and stripped humankind of their third strand. And of course, scientists look at the genome and they just say, call this junk DNA. But with the right nutrients and minerals, that third strand can coalesce and regroup, reconnect to the ADTP, and then ground out. Once it grounds out, then basically you're capable of doing amazing things, manifesting something out of nothing.
One of those minerals to rebuild is shungite. Shungite is a very important mineral for that. Now, what I've been doing lately for people is actually installing, we call it the God chromosome. It's the component needed to help the metagene to work. So there's a missing component. I know people who can just, they want something, boom, they turn around and there it is. But what I've been doing is actually giving people that chromosome that to activate that metagene. So I connect it all together, connect it with the law of attraction, connect it with their manifestation matrix, and I also connect it up with the financial abundance chakra, and things can start to happen. I haven't heard any results back yet because we just started doing it last week. We're only allowed to start doing it. Still need to hear about results.
Mother Earth is actually producing a specific 10-coded DNA a series of, I think it's 5.5 lines or 6.5 lines of 10-code DNA that is actually feeding into your body, and that code that you're putting back into your clients is the restoration of the third strand. You're giving them the code that will. And like I say, it takes a little bit of time for this code to work its way back in as you install it into your clients. And so a week is probably plenty enough time to where you'll start seeing effects within 2 weeks, I guarantee you.
Yeah, this is something that's going to happen anywhere. As you said, the Earth is creating all this change of energy, the DNA codes. It is something that's going to happen anyway. We're on the same page as far as how things are changing energy-wise. I have mentioned that the reptilians are a component of very high negativity on this planet, and they are being hoofed off quite abruptly. Is there any ET that you know of that are staying around that are going to help the process to go through to fruition?
Yes, the Arcturians and the Pleiadians are the high enough vibration that they're going to stick around to see us through on this thing. And if you look at some of the photographs that we normally run by Soho Lasco C3,
right?
Then you'll be able to see what kind of Star Wars is actually taking place. In fact, I'll sending you basically a screenshot that was taken back on December 30th at 8:18 in a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And there's a tremendous war going on over our heads. the Anunnaki and the Archon and the Dracos are fighting against the Arcturians and the Pleiadians, but they're outgunned. The weapons that the benevolence non-terrestrials have are just tremendously more powerful. I don't know if you got that up on your...
Yeah, I can see it. It looks like almost like meteors going through the atmosphere.
Yeah, well, let me show you basically their teleportation system. Now, this teleportation system is a type of ringing in, and if you look inside, you'll see about 6 different spacecraft about the size of our moon. Each one of these spacecraft is about the size of our moon, and they're being ringed, teleported into place. And the moment the ring withdraws, they start firing. And they've taken out Archon ships. I've got pictures of Archon ships on fire. Here's one Archon. You can see it clearly. It's been hit, and it is vaporizing as we look at it. I've got these all day long. With it, it's like this one particular one has been struck, and it is now falling apart, and it's going to disintegrate. Now, that is an Anunnaki vessel that is seen from LASCO CE3 from the SOHO series telescopes, and you can see it falling apart. It's actually from the rear of the vessel.
And it almost looks like an eagle or a bird flying.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people may have seen this on the internet, and some people say, "Oh, that's a Nibiru, that's this, that's that," but that is actually a spaceship that got hit.
Right, and now here's a picture of the teleportation ring, which is also a weapon, because if you run into the face of that, the very tip of it, I think I've got a picture here of a Archon vessel being annihilated by an Arcturian vessel. I'll just show you the end result. And this is NASA's, and you can see what you didn't get to see. I've got 4 photos here. And what you're seeing is the Arcturian vessel down below, making sure the Archon vessel completely is annihilated, because you don't want a lot of space junk floating around there. And but here's the Archon Draco vessel, and this is before its destruction. And basically, oh, come on now, let's see. And here is the Archon vessel firing at the Arcturians.
Now, a lot of people are seeing UFOs in their cities. They're walking down the street and they look up and they see something. Is this government-made craft, or are these actual ET on the planet and they're coming back and forth to get bread and milk?
Well, basically, a lot of the things that you see within the Earth's atmosphere are Solar Watch or Solar Warden. Basically, that's a fleet of 300 plus of our craft that we've basically either stolen or shot down. And but their craft, if you look at the picture I just sent to you, there's a stylus, and then there's a little circle drawn in the middle. That is our sun. That is our little tiny star. And you see the blue Kachina flying its way around, just taking its grand tour. And you can see this picture is taken in 1/10,000th of a second. So you can see the nature of the rapidity of how the velocity the velocity of this craft, and look at its size compared to our sun.
Mm-hmm. It's bigger.
And it's right in front of LASCO C3. And I like using, because you're seeing all kinds of nifty stuff. I like, and when the shoot, usually it really messes with LASCO's, the electromagnetic pulse that comes off of shooting, causes, a disruption in the picture. Sometimes the camera on board the SOHO satellite will prematurely take a picture when it's not supposed to. It takes a picture every 12 minutes, and sometimes it will catch these distortions, and sometimes it'll be completely wiped out. But you can see some vessels coming in there. Then we have a brown dwarf that was basically protecting our Stargate, our sun. All the suns are Stargates. And I don't know if I have that one available at this point in time. I'm pretty sure I do. But it shows this vessel sitting right outside the Sol Gate, our Sun Gate. And what it's doing is protecting it, is preventing the Archons, Dracos, from entering in the Sol Gate itself. And as a result, and this thing is 4 times the size of Jupiter. It's not like it's something you're going to miss, And here's a close-up picture of it off of LASCO C3.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
4 times the size of Jupiter. You can't miss this puppy. And it was there until about 2 weeks ago when the Archons got desperate and they blew the backside of the gate out and tried to come out the rear portion of the Sun Gate, the Stargate, and immediately they were annihilated, which wiped out LASCO C3. All you see is this, everything's black except for the nuclear type fusion explosion right around the sun. And so it was really, and these are actual photographs from NASA SOHO satellites that you paid for.
There's a NASA site, right?
I've got the site right here. I will actually take a copy of it and send it to you right now.
Bob, if you can post that.
Oh, yes, I will. Oh, yes, I will.
Okay.
We're looking at the pictures over here.
You go to the movie theater, and then when you go to the movie theater, you can download, if you can catch it before NASA scrapes off the images. Because if it's our craft, you'll see, and it's close to the telescope, you'll see it heavily pixeled out. The pixel will be huge, but they don't want you to see our particular craft that you see normally in our atmosphere. They don't want you to see this, and so they pixelate that out. And the other ships, they don't think that you'll recognize because it's. People most of the time, people don't really know what they're looking at.
It's an anomaly. There's no sign that says property of Jupiter. It's just something there, and nobody knows what it is.
Right. But if you want to look at violence on a massive scale, now Earth is, if you see the circle in the stylus, that's representative of the sun. Slightly above the sun, at the 11:30 position, almost 12 o'clock position, is where Earth is. And this is what you have when you've got, you can see the violence is on a scale unimaginable by humankind. The battle is going on in such a way that it is tremendously violent.
Now, Saturn has a big role in this war now, correct?
Yes, that's the last stronghold of the Archon Dracos is Mimas. If you look at if you've seen the video of the Norway Spiral,
yes,
people have seen the Norway Spiral. Well, certain people were at an angle in which they could actually see. Now, Mimas is basically the last stronghold, and it's a moon of Saturn. You have the Hex prison there, and then you got the Eye prison there, and this storm takes really nasty entities that have been sort of like the Phantom Zone, where they're imprisoned and they can't get out due to the magnetic bottling of this prison, and they're held there because they're pretty bad folks, and they're really mean entities. And so you'll see. I'll just show you a picture of what happened when they blew out the backside of the Sol Gate, or the Sol Gate, our sun as a Stargate. Actually,
So what exactly is a coronal hole? Is that when the gate is activated?
well, if you look at you have to have a series of frequencies. Now, what I'm showing you now is when they blasted this brown dwarf that is sitting there, 4 times the size of Jupiter. When they open up the gate, there's a blast that comes out the opposite side of the sun. It's just the way the Stargate works. It's similar to what you see on science fiction shows such as Stargate, SG-1. You see this. Of course, there's no water type of. No, it's nothing like that. But when the Archon ship blasted its way through the backside of the gate, what happened is there were Arcturian vessels on the other side, and they detonated the ship right next to the sun. And this arch that you see over the top of the disk, the stylus, is what's the detonation of that ship on a fusion level. I can't even begin to tell you or try to explain the energy expended in this explosion.
Yeah, people got to see this. This is actually quite amazing, that these pictures. These are actual pictures of the sun. We only got about 2 minutes left. Now, you're going to be back on my show. We're going to do part 2. Then after that, we're going to do part 3. We got a lot of stuff to talk about here. Tonight, our guest has been Sergeant Daniel Brad MacBolen III, alien black ops whistleblower and a super soldier. Daniel, any last words to end with?
Be happy. Don't worry. Avoid worry. Because the thing is, love, being loving and lovable is where we're headed. If you have fear, your DNA vibrates at about 4.5 hertz cycles per second. That's not good. If you're vibrating, if you're loving and lovable and you're living in the moment, in this loving and lovable state, what your DNA is vibrating at 15.56, which means when the natural Earth frequency, the Schumann resonance, begins to grow, it'll pick us up like dolphins having a great time on the bow wave of a large ship. It's effortless. It's effortless, and we'll be carried into the 5th dimension with no fear, because our vibration is high. The Earth frequency come up and pick us up and carry us into the 5th dimension, where life will be wonderful. So stay loving and lovable and avoid fear. There is no fear.
Sergeant Daniel, thank you so very much. You've been listening to A Quantum View. This is Chris Kehler out.